Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of the Central Region Scoop. I'm Caleb.
I'm JT, just like last time.
Just like last time, same people.
Sadly.
Yeah, hate to see it.
You're stuck with us for a while.
So I guess let's just get right into it. So we did play at the Cornhusker Clash recently, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
October 8th. Didn't really go so well. If you've been paying attention, I'm sure you've seen the results. But the outcome was 2 losses on our part. So we lost our goose egg. We were 3-0. We're now 3-2.
It happens. It's
yeah,
okay.
It happens. You know, take your lumps.
It's a humbling experience,
to say the least. So the first game was 7-1 UNL, which what else is there to say besides ouch? That was it was pretty rough. It wasn't ideal. We played like we were asleep. And brutally honest, there isn't really much to highlight for ourselves. For UNL, though, I mean, there are a ton of positives. They're a very good team, obviously. I would say they're better than they even were last year at Nationals, so that's a good thing.
I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. No. I thought they were still going to be great, but I didn't expect them to take another tick up, you know?
Yeah, and to be fair, I didn't know what to expect because there were some changes that were made between the time we played them in February at our home tournament to Nationals. Mm-hmm. They're 2 totally different teams. So props to them. They figured it out. I don't know exactly what changed, but it was good. So I think those 2 wins really solidifies themselves as a top-tier team in the league. Currently,
easily top 10. I don't think that was in question prior, but hopefully now top 7.
I mean, I think they're a dark horse candidate for sure. I think they're going to take a lot of people by storm.
I think the league knows that, though.
Yeah, no, the league's aware, I think.
Nobody can really go out to play them besides through our home tournament, which I wish more teams would come.
Looking at you guys. But they're a team full of athletes. And they play cohesively. I think a factor that is they are a D1 school. They have a big pool to choose from. So regardless, great for them. Top to bottom, from number 1 to number 12, they play at the same level and same consistency.
Complete unit.
And they all go for catches, and they're not afraid to go for catches because if they miss it, they're confident that the next guy is just going to catch them right back in. But personally, while it is difficult to take a loss like that bad, I'm kind of glad we got beat up by UNL. It gives us some film that really exposes our weaknesses and things that we can work on as a team to minimize our mistakes going forward.
Yeah, any positive that we can take from that is definitely needed because we just didn't come out swinging like we wanted to. There was no teamwork, and I think the worst thing was we threw way too many catches. And, I mean, it was a lot of people threw a lot of catches. Yeah. It just wasn't okay. You can't win any game like that. No matter how well you do throwing-wise or catching-wise, if you throw that many catches, you're never going to win a game. UNL was just the better team flat out first game, and they knew – main thing I think that they succeeded at is they knew how to neutralize – our top players. Yeah. And our other players couldn't exactly form to help unneutralize that.
That, and it was just hard for them to replace what they lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they would definitely take out our top throwers, or our top throwers would throw a catch.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have to hope that those players could fill in your spot and catch you back in, or just put it together.
I think we were just a little too inexperienced.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that.
For the first game, at least,
right.
For the most part. The second game is a whole different story.
Yeah, second game. The result says 4-3 to UNL, but I don't think, if you didn't watch the game, you would just think that UNL probably beat up on us again and then put in their worst players and we came back. But that wasn't the case. So although we lost, this was a much better game for us overall. We went into the half actually leading 2-1. So we were going into half pretty on our high horse, I would say. We had to put together the last point, but we still ended up getting it. Came out firing, and we didn't let that 7-1 loss affect how we played in the second game. It was like we completely washed it, which I think is a mentality that we've been trying to work on.
Which it did work for the most part.
Yeah, the 0-0 mindset, win a point no matter what, every time. And I think we definitely made the necessary adjustments to play a much better game. And I'm kind of glad because every time we've played UNL in the past, they've always been wars. constantly back and forth, close games down to the wire. So it was a good showing for us that we are actually a team, and we didn't
Last year, this happened. The same thing happened last year. Every single time the first game, it really wasn't close.
No,
never. As soon as we had a doubleheader, but the second game was always, I think, divided by 1 or 2 points or overtime, because 2 of the games went into overtime.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't know why we're like that, but the fact that we're always able to come out the second game and redo it just shows that, like, no matter how bad you beat us, we're going to come back fighting. And I think specifically, especially after the Miami tournament, I'm hoping we've shown this, but the first game wasn't necessarily the norm. I'm hoping people realize it was a fluke and a bad game.
Right. I think everyone has bad games.
Yeah, it just happened. We came. It was not a great tournament, or not a great game all around in the second game. We just showed what we were truly capable of. So
yeah,
that's about all I got to say.
Definitely positive. The one thing that just killed me was how could we go from the Red Hot Classic looking like a team that could give any team a run for their money, and then just come out and just play like that. That was the most frustrating thing for me. But I also have to remind myself that we're early in the season.
It is very early.
Very early.
We also had a lot of injuries, but so did they. I mean, injuries are no excuse for a loss, in my opinion, especially when a lot of them are playing through those injuries. It sucks, but you have to work around it. You have to develop strategies.
And we lost a couple people like a day before that tournament. Not that it didn't really affect us much. I don't know.
We did lose a starter.
Yeah, we did lose a starter. But he's better now.
Yeah,
so
good for him.
Yep.
Injury recovered. He hasn't came to practice back yet. I don't think he's been practicing yet.
He had some school stuff, and then he was sick. So what are you going to do?
It happens. School first.
Yep, of course. It's something like we do like to do. We did it the first podcast, and it's something that we're going to continue to do forward, as to do player highlights. We are specifically doing them for our team right now, but I don't see why we couldn't do it for other teams in the future, especially if they have a great tournament. So for myself, I'd like to recognize rookie Annie Larson, coming into her first and only semester of college dodgeball. She's an academic senior, but I think she's proven herself as a starting roster caliber player. Her main sport before she played dodgeball was volleyball, and she played on the club team for many years, so I think that athleticism has definitely helped her transition over into dodgeball. But she watched us play for an entire year before ever playing. So she studied the game. She knows how it works. And the one thing that really helps her is her fearlessness. She's not afraid to let somebody light her up.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
She'll just stand there and
she'll yell at you. She'll yell at you if you don't give it your all against her.
Right. It's
kind of funny.
I mean, one thing she did do, she actually went over to Colby, one of the power throwers on UNL, and was giving him crap for not throwing at her. And so that was just funny to watch. But the reason I'm highlighting her mainly is her ability to catch. She made several clutch catches in both games when we needed them, and it brought in one of her higher caliber players, which helped us either secure points or fight at least, to give us a fighting chance.
I would also like to add on to the Annie thing. She knows exactly her role, and she knows how to play it exceptionally well. She knows exactly what she's doing, how to do it, and she always does more than what she is needed of, but she knows when she's needed to do that role. It's perfectly executed. And she has an underrated waist throw. As long as she can get it down more, she likes to throw it up sometimes.
Yeah. She forgets to aim.
Yeah.
She just forgets to aim.
When she thinks about it, her waist throw isn't... You can't catch it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
She makes sure that it's not catchable, and it still counts, which is it's a great thing to have.
I'll go my rookie next. My rookie is Dylan Fabry. I'm sorry, I do not know precisely how to pronounce the last name. He was one of the rookies who shined. With his blocking mainly, but he has a rather shocking ability to survive for how new he is, and which is usually a lot of rookies who come in that are the better rookies can throw.
Yeah,
they can
that's
throw.
The main thing that they have.
They don't necessarily can catch immediately. Not a lot of them can, but usually the star rookies you see can throw. Those guys usually can't survive right away. Mm-hmm. I have no idea why he can survive so well.
It's strange. He's just a goofy kid too. I
think also there was a point where there were 40. It was like 8-2, and it was me and him in. I think I got 3 or 4 UNL players out, and then it was like 2 or 3 v1 because then I got out. and he had to survive for like 3 minutes, and he made it down to 40 seconds. But the reason he got out is because he stepped out.
Yeah, he just
doesn't know the court yet.
He ran straight out of bounds. It was funny.
It was funny, and I believe it was the first game when that happened.
Yeah, and you just chalked it up to being a rookie.
Yeah, it just comes with time, learning the back pedal and then knowing exactly when to stop. It just comes with time. No problem to him. I mean, he did phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only time he survived until the end of that tournament. I think there were 2 or 3 other times where he was the last one in.
Yeah, he did it several times just alone in both games. So.
Which is insane.
You just have to watch the film to really see that. But veterans-wise, I would like to highlight you, JT. You produced 8 total thrown kills. That's including solo and team throws. And for someone who I wouldn't consider a power thrower last year, and you admit it yourself.
No, not even close.
It's something nice to see. I think you had less kills than you did at Red Hawk, but we also played one less game.
Yeah.
So you take that into account. But additionally, you had 5 total catches on the tournament, which was the most for the team. And this is the second tournament in a row that you've led the team in catching, which is something that you...
It's just kind of to be expected, just because...
that's what it's your claim. You know, you're a catcher, that you've always said
I'm not going to be the power thrower. I'm not going to be the guy that is going to murder everybody on the court, but if a catch is needed, that's what I try to do my best in. And same here. I'm going to highlight you as well. I know we're talking each other up, but it's our podcast.
True.
You had the most thrownouts, the most blocks, and you were second in catches. I don't know what else to really say. We kind of did our jobs in the tournament.
Yeah, we still lost, so
we need to do better.
Yeah, need to do better.
We did what was expected of us, but when our team gets down, the higher-ups have to be able to push ahead. So,
and I think one thing that we all need to work on is getting our veterans to rub off some of their skills on our younger guys.
Yeah.
Just to try to get them up to speed.
We got to do better. Even the people who did exceptionally well, like Chad could have done better as well, but our top guys, they need to, when the other half of the team isn't doing so well, we have to be able to push up and be better.
I agree. So that was kind of past tournaments.
Yeah, that's kind of it. We're not really going to highlight any second years here.
Yeah, no one really played well.
I hate to say it, but there wasn't much to highlight.
Yeah, the games were just rough. So upcoming tournaments, there's 2 this weekend. We have another CSU Akron doubleheader. This is the second time that CSU and Akron have both had an event together, but the first one was exhibition, so it didn't count. This one is going to count. And speaking with Chris Haas, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. I'd assume so.
I would assume so as well. She's a coach at CSU. We just spoke with her, and she said that she feels considerably more confident for CSU heading into this tournament than prior ones. They've been working very hard, a lot, to clean up the small things, and they're trying to become more of a catching team this tournament.
They want to be top 3 catching teams in the nation, which is their goal. They know they don't have the exact cannons to be a power throwing team, so they're working around their skill level because they have some great catchers on their team. Yeah. And speaking of Akron, I think Akron's going to want to come out firing because PJ just won Baller of the Month.
Yep.
So I think they're going to
Clay had the classic double catch.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Great catch, but
that's just what are you going to do?
I guess moving on to the next tournament of the weekend.
Right. So on Sunday, we have the Kentucky Invitational, and this is the first time that we are seeing Kentucky. This is another Central Region team. This is their first action in the NCDA season. And fortunately for me, I had the time to speak with Sky Marvin, a captain for Kentucky this year. I got to speak with her a couple days ago, so I guess we'll go ahead and go to that interview so you can see what she has to say about this upcoming tournament.
Our first guest on the show. Thanks to Sky for coming out as well. So here we go.
All right, so let's just get started. First off, I'd like to thank you, Sky, for joining me today. I know from talking to you that we're both pretty busy. Obviously, we had a little hiccup in time, but between studying extracurriculars, I'm glad that we could work this out.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem. So I've only had the opportunity to play against you once, which was in Cincinnati last year. Would you mind just introducing yourself, explaining how you found out about dodgeball and what made you stuck with it?
Okay, so I'm currently a senior at the University of Kentucky studying animal science and ag economics. I found out through dodgeball through an event that they put on. It was called Midnight Dodgeball. They had it going on a K-week when I was a freshman. And so I decided to go. And what actually happened was I dragged my boyfriend along and I forced him to come with me to practice because I didn't want to go by myself. And we ended up breaking up after the first practice. And then I didn't know anyone else on campus. And so I decided to just keep going to practice because I didn't know anyone else. And then I ended up sticking with it, and then COVID hit, and it was the only social interaction that I could have because all my classes were online. So then I still didn't meet anyone new. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, now I'm the captain, and I've stayed with it. It's been a great sport.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
You really just end up where you end up. COVID definitely put a hamper on a lot of people, especially when they found out about it or what they could really do. So glad you ended up sticking with it through COVID because that was definitely a tough time.
Yeah, it was.
So this week we're seeing Kentucky's first action of the NCDA season with the Kentucky Invitational, which you guys kind of put together. I mean, within the matter of a week. So that was first off, that was impressive.
Thank you.
But so what teams are you most excited to play against?
To be honest, I'm pretty excited to play everyone. I don't really have anyone specific. We have a lot of new people. Our team's pretty new. It's me and David. We've both been here for about 3 years, but with COVID, we didn't get to play a lot. And so we're just attempting to hammer our new freshmen together. We've got, I think, 2 returners, and that's it. That's all we got from last semester. So, and we also had a slew of injuries and bad things happen. So we're not going into the tournament with a full 12, which kind of sucks considering it's a home tournament, but yeah, like one of our returners sliced his entire finger open on the can of beans. And so we're not entirely sure. It just, we had a bunch of misfortune happen, but we're excited to play everyone because it's an opportunity to come together as a team, and every defeat, we learn something. So we're just happy to be here.
I understand it. I mean, it's not something, I don't think it's something that you guys are unfamiliar with. Obviously, you had nationals where you also couldn't show a full squad. So, I mean, that whole situation happened. So, I mean, it's nothing new. It's definitely not, it's not ideal. And I understand. Last year, we took 8 to one tournament and 10 to another. So, I understand your struggles for sure. Like you had said, you mentioned that you guys are a young squad this year, which has its battles in its own right. Really having to hammer these freshmen together and actually bring them up to speed with dodgeball can be a challenge. But are there any young players on your team this year that the NCDA should keep an eye on?
Honestly, we have a lot of people that's super promising. You won't see many of them because it just happened they're not going to be here for the home tournament, but that's okay because we're going to leave them as like a happy surprise in the next competitions we go to. It's going to be fantastic. Everybody's going to be surprised. So I think off the top of my head, there's like Dane Coleman, Brandon Hale, who's actually the cousin of Ethan Hale, one of our alumni, Trent Tice, Ben Johnson, John Pat Phillips, like all these, they're doing really, really good. I think only 2 of them are going to be in the tournament, but that's all right. We're just going to keep the rest in our back pocket for later.
Of course. Don't want to show your best weapons early.
Exactly.
And for anyone that knows Kentucky dodgeball, it's no secret last year that you guys graduated some talented players, and both number 22 Tyler Kratzer, who was a second team All-American player, as well as number 14 Justin Conti. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his last name, but that's how I would. From an outsider's perspective, especially for myself, they were strong leaders for you guys. They both held down their individual corners quite well and put on a performance at nationals when you only had 10 people. However, since they're gone, who do you expect to really step up and fill their roles?
Robert Bennett is one of our returning players from last semester. He's doing an excellent job learning how to run the court. He can work with everyone on the team. He's really personable. So he's definitely, he's got the passion to be an excellent leader, and he's got a cool head. He's working his way up there. I think he's gonna, especially in the next year, I think you're gonna see him as one of the leaders on the court. And David Mead, the other captain, he's obviously already stepping into the shoes of our previous captains. Like he was chosen as captain for a reason. That's honestly the best way I can describe him. I mean, he's got the best court presence. His ability to run the team right now is currently unrivaled with the rest of us. Yeah.
Right on. I do remember David from last year. He was definitely he was already a vocal person. I don't know if he was a captain last year at all, but he was definitely someone that earned people's respect for sure, especially on other teams. So I guess we'll go back here just a little bit. I know from watching John Better's Bobcat Bonanza a couple weeks ago that you participated in the inaugural women's division matches. So what are your thoughts on this format and for the future of that division?
Honestly, I had the best time playing at the women's match. It was great fun to get to meet all the girls again, get to play with them. Personally, I thought the courts were a bit small, and I didn't like the women balls. They were a bit finicky. They're hard to throw. They're hard to catch. I like the typical balls that we play with because they've got some weight behind them. But honestly, it was a lot of fun. It was put together really well, and I hope that it will continue on in the future. I think it's really good, especially because there's so few women in the sport that we're able to come together and interact and create that coalition.
Right. It definitely makes a form of camaraderie for sure. It was entertaining, at least. I know watching Akron's girls, they play as a team on pinch, so you could really see that translate. So I'm hoping that this allows more teams to recruit women so that they can have their own respective teams instead of them being, forced into these ragtag group of girls until then, that's what we have to work with. So I'm glad to see that that's taking off finally, and I think it's about time that women started getting their own recognition in their own right outside of like the nationals list. So, kind of like lastly, our region this year has been coined the Central Division by the Chief of Content, Kevin Bailey. We were formerly the Midway and South regions respectively. What are your thoughts on this change? Do you think that's going to help more players get recognized?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I think I've said this a few times. I'm just kind of happy to be here. I guess it could potentially get more players recognized. However, we're gonna have to see. I think it's just one of those things you just wait and see.
Right. So I'm kind of hoping that it does get players more recognition for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see now that it looks like North Georgia and Georgia Southern are making a comeback this year. I don't know if you follow them on Instagram at all, but they seem to be putting together a squad. So, we'll see. It's definitely a large area to call the Central region, but I mean, we won't know until we know, like you said. Other than that, I mean, I don't really have anything else. I know we're both kind of running short on time. You got about 10 minutes until you need to go where you need to go. So, I just like to thank you for joining me today. I'm glad that we could, get this hammered out. But also I look forward to watching the Kentucky Invitational this weekend and cheering for you guys, since you're the only Central Region team in attendance. But, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, it's just, I think this might be the first thing that UK's hosted since I think 5 years, possibly, if I'm getting the dates right. And so I'm really looking forward to having this run well, and I'm hoping that we can run another one again in January, because we used to have a tournament at the last week of January when my captain was a freshman, when I was a freshman. So I'm hoping that we could run another one again. This goes well.
Yeah, that'd be great. If it's in late January, I might be able to swing a team down to see if we can come play. So that'd be pretty fun. All right, Sky. Well, you have a good day, and thanks for talking.
No worries. Thank you.
Yep. Bye. All right. Thank you, Sky, again for speaking with me. I really do appreciate that you found the time of your day to come out and just talk about your team. And I hope this is something that we can continue doing moving forward.
Especially teams that don't get the light, which is why we started this.
Right.
The main reason, I guess, to highlight those teams that don't get the highlight that they should.
Right. And I'm hoping that we could also get North Georgia or Georgia Southern to come on as well, because they're kind of reviving themselves as far as I'm aware.
And the Colorado team.
I hear they're supposed to be coming to UNL in the spring.
Yeah,
So.
UNL is most likely hosting a tournament in the spring, and we are told from UNL that the Colorado team is potentially going.
Right. Yep. So who knows?
Hey, it's phenomenal. More teams. And it's,
Also, Sky had mentioned that they might be trying to host a tournament in January, late January. So obviously, if we can know early enough. I mean, it's a little early for us, especially because we start
I don't even
late.
think we start school by that's doing. When do we start?
We're
late.
We average January 20th is normally when we start,
Yeesh.
which would be rough. But if we know early enough, we might be able to swing a team.
That is true.
So I mean, it's a 9-hour drive, but it's a smooth drive for us because it's just straight through Illinois, straight shot down. So
I don't think we played there ever.
no, it'd be cool. That's why and there's potential for Ohio teams to come, and that's kind of like a middle ground, even though it's 9 hours. It's just like driving to Akron. It's not like we haven't done that before.
Yeah,
so.
we've driven farther.
Yeah. So my thoughts on the Kentucky Invitational for myself, like Sky had mentioned, they aren't bringing a full roster to their own home tournament, which is a rough look in itself.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I get it. It's how the cookie crumbles, but it's just going to be tough, and it's not like we're not familiar with that situation at all.
No, we've brought 9-10 people to tournaments
Several times. So
especially last year.
I understand their struggles. I think this is the second tournament in the row, if you count nationals, that they don't have a full roster.
I think if I could give them any advice is you might not make the impact that you're supposed to bring.
Yeah.
If when you had your starting 12 and you're completely healthy, the best thing you can do is just work on your own game.
Yep.
It is the only time you're going to get the real experience.
Just form chemistry with the people that are there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing you can do, and fight your hardest.
Yeah,
really. I'm rooting for them. I'll watch the tournament because they're a Central Region team. They're the only one attending. I'll root for them. I hope that they do their best.
Central Region pride here.
Yeah. But also, we'll be seeing Saginaw's second action this year. Additionally, Ohio State University and Ohio.
I really want to play Saginaw this year.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a great game.
Well, it was. I personally, non-bias speaking, it was one of the best games at nationals. It was an overtime thriller.
Complete biasy, but
I think if you ask other people, it was also
who've seen it,
who saw it.
Overtime game is insane.
It was one of the better games.
They did come out on top.
Yep.
They just played phenomenal.
Yeah, they played very well, and it was just a hard-fought match. I don't know. I just like those close games.
Yeah.
Really. But again, I think it's just going to be hard for Kentucky to show who they potentially can be because they don't have a full roster.
Maybe that gives them a chip on the shoulder too, because then they might lose the tournament out, and then they're like, okay, we know what we're capable of. We took a few points on these guys when we had 8-9 people.
Right.
What do we do when we have all 12?
Right, exactly. So, I think it's kind of a good thing. Next up, though, is the Pioneer Classic. It's the third installment. That's on November 12th, so we're still a little bit under a month away now. We're like 3.5 weeks, I think.
But I don't think we're going to be doing another podcast, or close
in between
to
then. Yeah.
In between then.
Right.
Besides, but we'll get to that later.
So we have a possible 6 teams. I wouldn't say it's not fully confirmed, but I feel pretty good about it. With some promising. And
I think worst case scenario, we have 5.
Right, which still is great. That's more than we've had ever, I think. So there are going to be some promising and compelling matches. UNL will play their first out of Central Region competition matches since nationals. And I know that they've been wanting to do that for a long time, and they're kind of chomping at the bit to get some Michigan and Ohio action. Other than that, we have the 2 new teams, Concordia and University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So I think that's going to be kind of a welcome to the NCDA moment.
I think no matter what, people are going to watch that game. It's not going to be the highest skill people have ever seen. It's not going to be the most compelling game people have ever seen. But I think people are just going to want to come to see what the future of our region and the future of the league looks like for new teams. It'd be awesome if people come and watch that game more than anything else and give them tips, advice, because both those teams are just soaking up what everybody says.
Right. Well, it's also going to be kind of like a shell shock moment for them because I don't know if anyone's taught them how to pinch. So I don't know. It looked like from Concordia's Instagram, they had some pictures and they looked like they had some guys pinching. So I don't know how that translates. I know UIUC should know how to pinch because Charles has played with us and we taught him how to pinch. But obviously, when you have a guy who just pretty much freshly learned this summer how to pinch and then is trying to teach a whole bunch of other people,
whether he does it properly, which he might be. No offense to Charles whatsoever, but somebody who's known how to do it for 4 years based on somebody who's known how to do it for 2 tournaments, no practices.
Yeah, no, it's just tough. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know.
He could do it though. He's for how he learned, how quickly he did.
He was good. Yep,
they're in good hands.
Other than that, so
potentially not a UWP UNL matchup though at the home tournament potentially.
Yeah, pretty potential. I would say it's like 85% potential.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, both good and bad. I think our matchup would be, the one to watch come like for that tournament specifically, just because of how
the rivalry
for us. But it's likely that we play them 3 more times minimum this year without including this tournament. So it's not the worst thing.
No, there's going to be more matchups.
Right. But other than that,
the next, we want to talk a little bit about the next podcast, not reveal too much, but the next podcast will be going out Friday night, November 11th, the day before our home tournament, and we are going to have some special guests here. I don't really want to name any names yet.
Nope.
Just get it out there when it is. So
I would just watch for it. I think it's going to be a really cool experience, and I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think we're going to be able to have another podcast like the one we're going to be having potentially.
Nope.
It's going to be very interesting to see, and it'll probably be a little bit of a long one, to be honest.
Right. I wouldn't doubt if it pushes an hour.
Yeah.
If not more.
I'm excited.
It's just it's a lot of work for me, but who cares?
It'll be fine. Yeah. We only got a tournament the next day.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Other than that, just look for it to come out on the 11th, which is Friday night, on all of our socials. We will post like a trailer on Instagram at Platteville Dodgeball Club. Twitter is Dodgeball UWP, Facebook's Dodgeball UWP, and YouTube is UW-Platteville Dodgeball Club. That's where the full episode will be posted alongside with this one. So, other than that, that's all I got for you.
Yeah.
Catch
Thank you guys for coming out. See you next time.